I would call them larger radiuses. This has a large radius out here and then tightens up and through here. All these have tight, short radiuses. Short, tight radius makes a small cylinder. Comes around like this. Then there's a negative cylinder creating this eye right here. So I'm going across the form creating that cylinder. If you're just using your stick, you can certainly just go like this. And that's a very effective way of developing your cylinders, especially your negative cylinders. The other tool you can use is your butter knife to create planes. So if you go through and look for flat surfaces, you can use this to cut in those flat surfaces. Some people will break all of their drapery down into flat planes, and that's first. That is a very useful way of developing this form. Okay, so I've added a more sweeping light source so that possibly you can see more of the form that I've tried to model here. So I think what I'm going to do is take this tool. I have a pointy end here. What I might do is just round that off using my knife, or maybe if I had a piece of sandpaper. But one of the very useful things is just having a stick with a rounded end. So I've taken my old stick, my shish kebab skewer, and I've rounded one end, and the other end that I had flattened for the last assignment, I've also rounded that over. That's going to be very useful. So I can use that rounded end to work on the inside of these deeper folds through here. And then I can still use the stick to round over these forms. And then this flat edge can be used the same way. And so this is just a matter of working my way out, putting more clay down, building more of this composition. Okay, I've done a little extra work here. I'm just continuing with the same process of fussing with the volumes, the cross sections of the radiuses. And I just want to continue showing you, I've rewarmed my clay, and now it's really just a matter of going through and developing a finer sense of this radius. So along here, this is a radius, this cylinder, and then sweeps down underneath. And so that's what I'm going to do here, is I'm going to go underneath, meaning there's an undercut. There's an undercut under this radius. The radius continues down and then back up. It's continuous through here. This one just S-curves down below. And again, I'm just using my rounded stick. I'm also using, as much as anything, my finger, and I can also use my butter knife. But the important thing about this is that you're not thinking of it as one cylinder, but as a continuous surface. Especially when you're modeling like this. You think of it as a ridge line here, but then you have to think of it as a topographical map, up and down, over and down like this. So that the fabric, which is contiguous and connected, also has a physical connection from one form to the next. And if you create a ridge line here, it affects the valley next to it, and vice versa, and all the way down. So when you're modeling both in parts and in generalities. So the wonderful thing about drapery in terms of a design lesson is that you have repetition of form, the eyes, the cylinders, and you have variety, a tremendous amount of variety. It can do thousands of different folds and variations, but the geometry is the same. The way these things interact is predictable. You have to remember that the surface geometry is affected by the fact that it's not being compressed as much as it's folded up. So you can't lose surface area. It's the same amount of surface area as if you have the entire piece of fabric. It's just folded into space. And so that's where these geometries come from. It comes from the idea that the material cannot be stretched or compressed. It has to be folded into space.